I'm Clarence Kukalkai Ching. Mountains are indeed sacred. Mauna Kea is sacred. Religions around the world have long attributed divine qualities to the mountains that tower over their civilization, and it makes a lot of sense. After all, these looming peaks are often the objects that are most closely positioned next to the heavens, the celestial bodies, and the unknown. However, that's not the only reason for why mountains are often imbued with religious significance. Many of Earth's peaks are considered sacred because of their connections to famous events. When Noah's Ark came to rest upon Mount Ararat, or because the mountain demonstrates a godlike strength for destruction, consider Mount Shasta or Mauna Kea. Regardless of whether you believe the legends that surround them, it's hard to deny the sublime power that mountains represent. These are some of the reasons why I place so much significance on the sacredness of Mauna Kea. The tsunami of persons, Hawaiian and non-Hawaiian, who feel similarly make Mauna Kea the globally regarded sacred mountain that it is, just as Kailash, Fuji, Shasta, Kilimanjaro, Aconcagua, and Denali are. BLNR has the duties and obligations of a trustee and thusly a fiduciary. As board members, the duties and obligations delineate to you. Your duties and obligations rise enormously above the general populace. You are charged with these duties and obligations. You are charged with these duties. I'm having trouble with this mic. Hopefully, when this hearing started, each of you were totally neutral, so that you can give this hearing the respect it deserves. And before you do vote, that each of you will go through the entire record, the thousands of pages, the hours, the days that have been worked on to come to this point. The record is indeed a large one. And if each one of you will express your eventual decision in a vote, please vote from your conscience. I would like to incorporate by reference all of the documents that I have submitted in this hearing and in the first hearing, and indeed the written record that I have also presented each of you with. There have been many errors that have gone on in this process. For instance, the detriment of a no discovery rule, or the insufficient opportunity to be heard in a reasonable time and manner. And when Judge Amano was appointed the hearings officer, the plethora of rule violations began. The hearing officer violated HAR Section 13.128 and 13.129 HER stands for Hawaii. Excuse me, my mind is out somewhere. I'll just read the numbers of these violations, and you can look it up in this written thing. HER 13.1.31.2, 13-1-32.4, HRS 91-9, HRS 91, HAR section 13-128, numerous violations of due process, HRS 91-12, HAR 13-1-38. Anyways, they're all included in the list in my table of contents, and in the discussion that follows. One of the disappointing things that I have run into in this process has been the candor of the attorneys of the pro TMT philosophy. And one of them is that they must tell the truth. And if they don't, and they find out what the truth is later, they're supposed to change their positions. These guys don't change their positions, even in the face of facts and truth. One of the major errors was the detriment of no discovery. In a case such as this that is very complex and very voluminous, not being able to make discovery was a major problem for the interveners. After all, the proponents can choose what evidence they can put in, and they can leave out the evidence that's negative to their cause. Well, we have the problem of finding out everything, the facts, the situations. If you remember, one of the motions was for a protective order for David Ige, for Chair Suzanne Case and Stanley Rohrig. A protective order does what? It hides evidence. Without discovery, how can the opposition find out what the facts are? The lack of discovery makes the discovery of conflicts of interest very, very difficult. Take Sam Gone, for instance. He was on the board in the first contested case hearing, and he voted yes. The Supreme Court had something to say about that, too. In fact, in finding out that the cart was placed before the horse, it required this whole new second contested case hearing. And if the errors that have piled up have been so consequential. Are we going to have a third contested case hearing? Sam Gone the third is Sam Gone the third is a staff member of Nature Conservancy. Nature Conservancy has a project on Palmyra Island, and Sam Gone, I believe, and I can't prove it, has had a relationship with Gordon and Betty Moore of the Moore Foundation. Who is the Moore Foundation? Moore Foundation is the largest, if not only, private financier of the TMT. With personal relations built up, would Sam Gone ever vote against the TMT? I don't think so. And you, Suzanne Case, after 28 years with Nature Conservancy, and a lot of those years as the chair, I suspect, I can't prove, that you also have a personal relationship with the Moores. And when it comes down to a vote, I would suspect that you will not be able to vote no in this situation. And so, and there are others that may have conflicts of interest also. And so the idea of recusal is something that each one of you should be thinking about. One of the interesting things in this contested case hearing is that the university, or attorneys Carsmith and Ball, represent UH Hilo. They have a subsidiary and in-house organization that they hired to do the CDUA. People were told that they should mention the TMT International Observatory LLC in their witness statements. And a lot of their witnesses on the record had no idea why they were doing that, or that they were adding confusion to the process, because there has been a conspiracy, at least a conspiracy that seems to be a conspiracy, of TMT Observatory Corporation, TIO International Observatory LLC, the University of Hawaii system, and you, BLNR, DLNR, for a number of reasons, including, for instance, the CDUA mentions that the third-party beneficiary is the TMT Observatory Corporation. And when, at the end of the first contested case hearing, that was supposedly the approved and issued, and they were issued a CDUP. But when the sublease was put together, where was TMT Observatory Corporation, the designated beneficiary? The name that showed up on the sublease was TMT International Observatory LLC, and how that happened, I don't know, because there are no supporting documents that transfer any of the rights of the observatory or of TMT Observatory Corporation to TMT International Observatory LLC. Neither is there an amendment or amendments, rewrites to the original CDUA, which has other problems namely not being signed by the right people, not having the right people as parties to that, to the general lease, for instance, and the CUA. Let me just say that there are so many issues, complex issues, that are in the record. And if you haven't read the record and you're going to vote on this thing today, or any other time soon, we're going to have problems. And one last thing, let me say that I believe that you are subject to HRS 91-12, and that it requires that when you, for instance, do your findings of fact and conclusions of law, that you also do the same for all the adverse statements and things that have been in the record, at least 5,000 of them, and that I would expect that you will comply with that law and provide us with that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the Flores case, Ohana.